Now, without further ado, please help me give a warm welcome to Jill Gilbert.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris and Sam. Thank you so much for having me. I am super honored and delighted to be here. And I'm really grateful to speak to you all today. So, I'm going to be talking about passive watching to active playing, speaking about animation in games and immersive content. But before we start, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an animation producer and consultant, and I've been in animation my whole career. And I love it because to me, it's a process of collaboration and a culture of collaboration. And it's not that you don't have those things in live action, but to me, live action is a little more of a handoff, or animation is kind of like a dog pile with everybody jumping in to make something great. I've seen all sides of animation. I've seen the content creation side. I was an executive at Disney Toon Studios for 9 years, where I worked on sequels, prequels, Mickey Mouse movies, Winnie the Pooh movies. And I also was an executive at Paramount Animation when that division was launched in 2011. And I had the privilege of overseeing the second SpongeBob movie, the one where they turn into superheroes and wreak havoc along with Antonio Banderas. And then, as Chris mentioned, I've been on the service side as well, where I did business development for Technicolor. I also took a really fun kind of left turn into producing theme park attractions for Universal Studios Singapore. And all my attractions had to do with DreamWorks animated properties. Since 2019, I've had my own business, JFG Consulting, and this past spring, I launched a new entity with my business partner, Sarah Zordovich, The Sunny Side Up, as Chris mentioned. And what we do is bespoke consulting for animation. All of our clients are in content, games, and tech. And the work includes creative development, producing, business strategy, business development, talent sourcing, and program enrichment. And essentially, we sit at the crossroads of storytelling and technology. So since I've been in the animation business for about 30 years, to stay relevant, I think it's really important to think about what is the future of our industry and what's changed since I started and why. So some of the things that I'm thinking about is that audiences have many more options for how to spend their leisure time now. Mobile phones have essentially given everyone in the world our own movie screens, our own TV in the palm of our hands. And this has created a really big struggle for Hollywood because for over a century, Hollywood has been the ones responsible for creating and distributing content, right? So going to the movies was your big night out, and appointment TV was the big night in. And then the next day, audiences would go to school or go to work and they would talk about what they watched in person. But now with games, games are kind of your big night in. It's actually your anytime big time in. And it's not just for kids, but it's for fans of all ages. And we can see games in various formats, they're brands themselves, and the player is in control. They're actively engaged. They're the hero of their own adventure. And that's something you're going to hear me mention a few times today. And then you have immersive content or location-based entertainment, LBE. You'll see that a lot in the presentation. And that's kind of a big night out. So that is an experience of being completely immersed, a real life experience that really wows the audience. And in both games and immersive content, this location-based entertainment, the audiences want that community engagement. But as I think about things, we all do want the same things. We all want to create amazing stories with unique characters and unique worlds. So to me, audiences want to be these active participants. They do not want to just be passive viewers any longer. Yes, they can spend their leisure time at home, but there's also a desire to be out in the world, having those communal experiences with other people. And so this is where I think that the future of content is going, into games, more games, and immersive and location-based entertainment. These will be the dominant experiences of choice for audiences around the world. So in today's talk, I'm going to speak about how we got here, give a brief history of that. I'm going to give an overview of these industries and the cultural differences between these industries. I am going to speak a little less about games since you mostly are from the games industry, but I'm going to give some examples of how to cross-pollinate and share knowledge and best practices, and then provide some answers to some questions that I think might be of interest to everyone in this audience. So what created this change? It was really YouTube, which launched in February of 2005, and Netflix, which launched in January of 2007. YouTube launched as a video sharing site, and their slogan was broadcast yourself. So that was really a call to action for people to make content themselves and put it out in the world. And Netflix, I'm not sure if any of you know, but the first iteration launched in 1997 as a mail order DVD rental business. And then they switched to video on demand in 2007. They started with licensed content, and then they moved to original content in 2013. So these are both global platforms with many options. And again, the audience gained the control. So for the next 15 years, we continued to gain control because the audience could determine what they wanted to watch, when they wanted to watch, where they wanted to watch, how they wanted to watch, if they choose to make their own to watch, or if they choose something else to do with their leisure time. They were no longer at the mercy of movie studios and TV channels to be entertained. And so they had this instant and available content, and they had social media so they could watch and communicate with each other in real time. So again, now the tables have really turned on Hollywood. And then just when we thought it was bad, it got a little worse with the global pandemic. We've got everybody at home. Content could and had to be made anywhere by anyone. This community engagement became virtual and more global, and this really pushed Hollywood over the edge. So where are we today in 2024, almost 2025? Hollywood makes less animated film and TV content because how much kids and family animated content is really needed. The audience outgrows that content pretty quickly. Essentially, a new kid audience comes into play every 3 to 5 years. Streamers have oversaturated the market, and they need new business models because how many subscriptions do people really need? So they're offering different kinds of packages, they're offering ad revenue. So it seems a little bit like we're going backwards. And while games have had a rocky couple of years, as I'm sure most of you know, their popularity does continue to grow and the audience lasts longer. And for immersive and location-based entertainment, that's also regaining its pre-pandemic levels, and there are more options in terms of locations, local and destination type trips, and also a variety of price points for these experiences. So to know where we're going, we need to have a bit of more of the lay of the land now. So I'm going to go into each of these industries just a little bit more. And for the animation industry, I'm going to focus mostly on Hollywood since that's where my experience is and what I know best. So let's talk about the landscape of movies. So Box Office Mojo reported 3 animated films were in the top 10 worldwide box office in 2023. Number 2 was Super Mario Brothers, which earned $1.36 billion, the global box office. Number 6 was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse at $691 million global box office. And number 10 was Elemental. That was $496 million global box office. And as many of you maybe know, mainstream Hollywood movies have to hit that 4-quadrant audience. So 4-quadrant audience are male, female, under 25, over 25. So it's kind of ridiculous. It's everybody, but that's a pretty big target that you've got to hit. These movies have taken the place of G and PG-13 live action comedy movies. Most animated Hollywood movies today are based on known IP or a part of a franchise. Production budgets can be anywhere from 50 million up to 250 million USD, and that doesn't account for marketing costs, which can equal the production budget. Now, international market and streamers are more willing to take risks on different types of movies, but typically those budgets are less than 20 million USD. Also, the eternal challenge that animation has in the United States is that animated movies are considered a genre rather than a filmmaking technique. So we need to talk about series. And when we think about series, they fall into 5 different categories. So you have preschool, kids 6 to 11, family, adult, and action adventure. And the reason that they're broken up this way is because they were programmed with certain advertisers in mind to hit the audience that was the audience for each of these types of shows. So Bluey is top preschool show. It was launched in 2018 in Australia, It's the second most streamed show in 2023, accumulating a total of 43.9 billion minutes viewed across the year, according to Nielsen data. SpongeBob SquarePants, yay, SpongeBob. Variety reported last summer it was the 25th anniversary of the launch of the show. It is seen in over 180 markets. It's translated in over 30 languages and has an excess of 100 million viewers per quarter. Now, The Simpsons is the longest running animated TV show, running in at 35 years. And according to Statista, the 35th season drew an average of 1.74 million viewers. And while that may seem like a lot, that is a decline. Numbers have been in that decline since season 12, where the audience viewing was 15 million. And that also caused a drop in ad revenue for the 30-second spots for broadcast. There was an improvement in 2018 to 2019, which was the first increase that they've had in 4 years. Rick and Morty. So Rick and Morty debuted in 2013. Seasons 1 to 4 at 6 had reviews above 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Season 5 had 86% with a drop of 75% to season 7. Season 8 was delayed because of last year's writer's strike. And a few weeks ago, Adult Swim announced a 2-season pickup. But Screen Rant reports that while it's still getting critical acclaim, it's not been as successful with spin-offs, and they're failing to expand and grow that franchise. And the final category of TV series is Arcane, or action adventure drama, and Arcane is the leader in that space. As we probably all know, it's based on Riot's hugely successful game, League of Legends. It was launched on Netflix in 2021. They only had 1 season. Forbes reported that 120 million hours were watched globally. Everyone loved it, audiences raved, it won a bunch of awards, and season 2 just dropped this past month. It's the final chapter, and there are 3 installments. So when thinking about the animation landscape, we also have to look at video on demand of the streamers. And tracking from 2019 to 2023, the most popular video, online video apps with minutes per day is still YouTube and Netflix. 5 years in a row, that's consistent. Also, the data website Statista reports that as of July 2024, Cocomelon Nursery Rhymes is the leading kids channel with 178 million subscribers. So there have been some instances where Hollywood has cross-pollinated with games and into this immersive kinds of spaces. So The Last of Us and Cuphead were 2 successful shows. And what was interesting there is that they brought together the creative talent from both Hollywood and the games industry so that there was knowledge sharing from both sides. Super Mario Brothers, which is a big hit, which we talked about. Super Nintendo World, launched in Universal Studios Japan in 2021, Universal Studios Hollywood in 2023. In Orlando, it's coming this summer, and in Singapore, that is under construction. Netflix has had a few different kinds of immersive experiences or interactive content, like Black Mirror with their branching narrative, and Cat Burglar, which was a trivia game. So audiences had control there to control those experiences. And then I like to talk about Momoguro. This is a show from one of my clients called Baobab Studios, which is based in the Bay Area. This project was developed for a TV. They were struggling to get the TV show off the ground, so they pivoted to NFT and a Roblox game. And now, because those areas were so successful for them, they have moved back into a co-pro television situation. So I like to think about the different cultures and the different people who work in these spaces. So Hollywood's strength is telling great stories and great characters. In Hollywood, creative is king. That is what we prize over technology. Technology always supports. And it's interesting because even though Hollywood is an innovative industry, it is late to embrace technology. One example of that would be about 10 years ago when 2D artists really struggled with using tech like Storyboard Pro, animating in CG, using motion capture, and using real-time game engines. We're not into knowledge sharing. We like to keep information to ourselves, which is not good. And we like sure bets. We are very risk adverse. And what I mean by sure bets is that sure bets in terms of the content that is being produced. So sequels, spin-offs, remakes, and using known talent. Just look at Moana 2. There you go, a sequel with known talent, The Rock. And sure bets on how the content is being produced. So using the same methods of production There's a great fear of AI right now as well. So I think it's also really important to look at how tech has continued to come into the space of Hollywood. And that really started in 2013 when Amazon and Netflix jumped into the fray with their original content creation. They had money to spend and they were making pretty quality original content. Just this past Emmy season for 2023-2024, these three platforms won 37 awards combined between the Creative Arts and the Primetime Awards. Hollywood still holds the Oscar for being the top studio with Oppenheimer this past year with 7 wins. What's also interesting is that for Amazon and Apple, content creation is not their core business. It supports their core business. So Amazon is really selling you products online. The platform is a way to get customers to sign up for Amazon Prime. And Apple is really selling technology. So let's look at the games industry landscape. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to give as much detail here since folks are in this industry and know probably way more than I do. But I do love this slide. This is research from Bain & Company's 2024 gaming report. So the video game industry reported 196 billion in revenue for 2023, which outpaced streaming and box office revenue combined. So that is massively telling to me of where people are spending their money. Almost 80% of 2 to 18-year-olds are gamers, and they spend 30% of their leisure time gaming. It's also been tracking that gamers will socialize, shop, and watch videos while they're gaming, and they are more likely to spend when they are doing more while they are playing their games. Gamers are also co-creating their experience, as 79% play video games that include user-generated content, and 16% are making content themselves. So this is players making videos of themselves playing games to upload to Twitch and YouTube. And these game mechanics allow players to be the hero of their own experience. And you've heard me say that. So in thinking about the games culture, what's different here and what's interesting is that creative and technology really work together to create the product. They both make meaningful contributions. They're generally equals, but sometimes the tech is more important than the creative. So that's opposite of how Hollywood functions. Technology is a critical piece. It's ever changing, it's ever evolving. So you're always having to keep up with what those changes are. And the games are a living product themselves. They're ongoing. And there's often no clear end to completing the product. This is an industry where knowledge sharing is more welcomed and encouraged. And it's also seemingly, and especially in the indie game sector, more of an industry that is willing to try and fail. You can make smaller games with small budgets. They're easier to build and to try. And sometimes, as part of games culture, failure can even be celebrated. One of my clients, if you fail, you have to drink a bottle of champagne. I think is fascinating. So I'm not even going to go into any sort of esports video game tournaments because there isn't enough time to dig into this area. But I think it's really interesting to note that the Olympic esports games are going to launch next year in Saudi Arabia. All right. So let's dig into immersive and location-based entertainment. So this industry includes a really wide variety of different types of experiences. So I'm going to provide some general categories. But what is consistent is there's always a story to be told. Now, sometimes that story is narrative driven, and sometimes it requires the audience to really make their own story from the experience. So 2 quick notes. This industry may not seem to be connected to animation, but it is. Many times it's based on animation IP. There's storytelling, character development, world building, and there's animation, imagination, and spectacle. But another thing to note is that movie making and TV production has been around for over 80 to 100 years. So it's going to take longer for this content space to become fully realized. So we're going to start with theme parks because this is kind of the most known area of this industry. So we have Disney Parks and Resorts. They have 6 theme parks in California, Orlando, Paris, Shanghai, Tokyo, and Hong Kong. They have their cruises, they have their resorts, and they have their vacation clubs and their water parks. Fantawild Group is a Chinese-based amusement park company. And as of 2020, They had 16 parks with 7 more under construction. So I don't know, here's a little trivia. I don't know if anyone knows the difference between a theme park and an amusement park, but the difference is the trash cans. In theme parks, they're themed, and in amusement parks, they're just regular trash cans. All right, so Merlin Entertainment Group, this includes all the Legolands. There's 10 of them worldwide. They include Madame Tussauds, and they have some brand-specific gateway attractions, like one for Peppa Pig, Shrek. They also manage the London Eye. And finally, there's Universal Destinations and Experiences. They have 5 theme parks: Hollywood, Orlando, Japan, Beijing, and Singapore. They have other parks, including Islands of Adventure and Volcano Bay, which are a little less expensive. And their big new Epic Universe opens next summer in Orlando. So in this industry, success is measured in attendance. So as you can see, there is huge growth in China with Fantawild Group, as I mentioned, and also the Chimelong Group. That is a Chinese company that has amusement parks, water parks, zoos, hotels, and resorts. So their year-over-year difference has grown tremendously. Okay, so this next category is a variety show, Creative Spaces variety show. And not sure who might be familiar with Meow Wolf, but I think it's one of the most interesting things that's happening out there right now. They have 5 experiences in the United States. They have one that's opening in Los Angeles in 2026. And their common purpose is to expand worlds and minds through the lens of Meow Wolf's kaleidoscopic art. It opens portals of possibility, and they redefine the paradigm of art and storytelling to make a positive difference in the world. This company was started by a collective of artists at Santa Fe. And so I'm going to show you a trailer for their first first immersive space in Santa Fe.
Welcome to the Miniverse.
Cool stuff. All right. Next, in the creative spaces category is a gallery, is the gallery space. And this is an example of Lego's Superpower Studios. This is an immersive gallery. And what I like about it is that it breaks out from the do not touch sort of rule of galleries and museums. The audiences actively participate and transform the space into a vibrant celebration of creativity and play. There's also renowned artists that they've brought in to create art here. And the goal is really to blend creativity, art, and imagination. So take a look. Okay, the next category is theatrical show, and I'm highlighting Sleep No More. This was originated by the British theater company Punch Drunk in London. It opened in New York in 2011, and this is immersive theater based on Shakespeare's Macbeth, and inspired by noir films, especially Alfred Hitchcock films. It's set in a 5-story building with simultaneous theatrical action. It's a 3-hour show, and what's interesting is each character plays on a 1-hour loop, and they return to their original location every hour. So some characters stay in that one location. There are some characters that move around across multiple floors. And so the audience is given agency to move freely, but they can also be directed where to go. And there are some secret rooms and experiences, which is what inspires people to go back. I read about some guy who went like 32 times because he wanted to make sure that he could experience every single character and every single secret room and experience.
Last night, I had the dream again. Was it last night? Or the night before last? Or is this the same night still? It's always the same dream. I go back there, and everything is just the way it was. That night, we dance. We dance forever. Never die, and never see the dawn. And you and I will be the death of sleep. This endless night.
Okay, we're going to move on to immersive games and escape rooms. I really like this example. I'd love to go check it out. It's called Level 99. They have 2 locations on the East Coast of the United States. It's a social gaming playground. There's over 50 real-world physical and mental challenges. There's games, there's craft drinks, and elevated dining.
Welcome to Level 99. Located in Natick, Massachusetts, our 48,000 square foot complex features first of its kind challenge-based entertainment. Welcome to a real-life video game. Welcome to a world of challenges. When you get hungry, stop by the Night Shift Brewing Restaurant for tasty craft beers and an elevated dining experience.
Access granted.
This is Level 99.
Mission completed.
So brand experiences become really popular, and a lot of actually movie and TV studios and maybe some game studios have gotten into them as well. So this is the Stranger Things experience. They have 8 locations: Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, London, Atlanta, Paris, Toronto, and Seattle. And their catchphrase is discover your powers and become the hero of your own adventure.
Go, go, go! We don't have much time. We need your help.
Max and I are in danger. In the Upside Down. We need you.
You are all in very serious danger.
We saw what you guys can do. We're counting on you.
The Demogorgons are coming! You hear me? I know you have all of these specific powers, but I believe that you have more in you.
Your time has come.
And then there's brand experiences for younger audiences too. So this is the Bluey brand experience. And here you can play your favorite games like Magic Asparagus, Keepy Uppy, and Granny's and Bluey and Bingo's House. And there's original animated content to watch that was created just for this experience. And at the end, you get to meet Bluey and Bingo.
You guys ready to enter Bluey and Bingo's house for real life? All right, again, one to come on over here, one to come over here. Ready? And here we go!
House for real life! What? Look at the kitchen!
open.
2 for yes! Just like the show! 2 for yes and 1 for no!
So fun! Is that a duck cake? Can you grab your beans? Where are your beans? Let's put them back. There you go. Yeah. All right.
There's also the girls room around this way.
Oh yeah. So brand experiences can also be about products. So this is an interesting example, the Johnny Walker Prince's Street. This is in Edinburgh. They have tours. There's an immersive tasting experience. I don't exactly understand how that works, but they have it. There's unique gifts and mementos, and there's cocktails and dining. And the last example is more of an Instagram-worthy experience, and that is the Museum of Ice Cream. So they have 6 locations, Austin, Boston, Chicago, Miami, New York, and Singapore. There are 14 magical playscapes, including this one where you can play around in sprinkles on ice cream. There are exclusive sweet treats, and they also have unlimited ice cream. That's a pretty great experience. So when looking at this landscape, there's different things to consider than from games and in the Hollywood content space. The audience is the single most important part of creating this successful immersive experience. The goal is really to create a cause and effect branching of the story so that they feel that the decisions that they make have an impact on the outcome of their experience. And unlike it being a completely digital space, you have more limitations because you are in a physical space. But if it's done correctly, the audience will leave with an emotional connection or memory of what they've experienced. And then the goal is to continue to create that engagement, to generate more engagement with the experience, both by returning to the venue and also beyond the venue. Location is key because in many ways, this is more of a real estate business. So you've got your destination, sort of a holiday vacation, that big special trip you're going to take. And there's also the more local experience. So like movie theaters were the equivalent of that local experience. But now attendance is down and theaters are closing. So this immersive location-based experience is what is going to be taking its place. The metrics are always measured in throughput. So the number of people that participate per hour, per day, per week, per year. People who come to this industry are from all areas of industry. So live theater, live shows. There are some people who have kind of grown up in the theme park industry. There are folks who transition from Hollywood or gaming. There's also a lot of real estate developers and investors who have gotten into the space, as well as just regular investors who see that there's an opportunity. So this is where they want to put their money. So when thinking about the culture, we go back to that one question: why is the audience here? Because that goal is to create that experience that strikes the balance between having wide appeal and also making it deeply personal. There's that level of theatrics, that sleight of hand, because you want to surprise and delight your audience. And the audience is smart enough to know that the experience isn't real, but the goal is to capture their imagination so they're willing to go along for the metaphorical ride. Like I was mentioning, this is a business that is driven by real estate. So it's about getting butts in seats. The budgets can be tighter. We're dealing with a permanent brick and mortar location, and there's physical limitations and durability issues with that, with being in this physical space. So I produced, one of the theme park attractions I produced was a carousel, and my vendor had to do a whole test at the site in Kansas with the carousel put together, where they took baseball bats to it and beat it up to make sure that it was durable. And then when they shipped it to Singapore and they reassembled it, they had to do the same thing to make sure that it would last, because these need to last 10 to 15 years. Repeatability, scalability, and continued engagement are also key factors. Is this a special trip? Is it part of everyday life? Can this experience grow, evolve to other locations? And again, how do we keep the audience emotionally engaged so that they want to come back or remain virtually engaged? So again, when I look at all these spaces, we all want the same thing. We all want to tell amazing stories with unique characters and unique worlds. So I want to bring it all together and share a little success story. And that is for Particle Inc., the House of Shattered Prisms. So this is one of my clients. The company is called Kaleidoco. This show is an immersive show that combines live performances, practical effects, VFX, animation, and technology. Kaleidoco describes themselves as an entertainment technology company built to connect and inspire people around the globe, defining the future of story living. I really like that, story living. So how did Particle Inc. come to be? In 2017, the CEOs of Kaleidoco saw a prototype of Particle Inc. at Sundance, which was created by the Light Poets. The Light Poets are a collective of artists, many of them from Cirque du Soleil. And the CEOs felt that this IP was deep and profound. They thought the artistry was incredible. And they were really intrigued by the unique way that technology was applied to the storytelling. There was environmental design, projection mapping, augmented reality. So they set out securing a building in New York, and that took around 6 to 8 months. And the original open was supposed to be 2020 of September, but that was delayed because of COVID. So they decided to move their location to downtown Las Vegas. They could have less expensive rent. The creatives, the Light Poets were based there, and there was also a bigger selection of talent to pull from for the show. So version 1 opened in spring of 2022. Some of the key learnings that they had was that they needed more foot traffic. They wanted to be able to create additional daytime engagements for their experience. They also needed more story guidance for the audience. So while the audience still has autonomy, they needed to control certain pieces of it. So they made a deal with MGM Hotels and they moved the show to Luxor, and version 2 opened this past spring. Now in October of 2023, the first NFT launched and they sold out in 90 minutes. And they have a mini launch game and another NFT drop coming soon. So they're trying to build both immersive, location-based entertainment, as well as games to spread out their IP. So I love this quote from the Light Poets. It's from an online interview called, from a publication called No Proscenium. This is what they said. The exciting aspect of immersive theater is that it creates a space where an audience can actually be invited into that process too, to a degree. Suddenly, the audience isn't watching something that is inspired, but they are finding their own inspiration as they connect with others. I'm going to show you the trailer for Particle.
Two hearts collide, all the story in time. Shadows teach us something when the darkness got us burning, burning, burning. With the lightness of a feather, now we're headed for forever. Kiss the dark with life's tears.
So there is some news about Particle. They actually closed just 2 weeks ago. They still weren't getting the audience numbers that they needed, and they felt that ultimately the Las Vegas audience wasn't quite the right fit for them. But there are future plans that I can't talk about, but it will be back. So keep an eye out for it because I think it's insanely cool. Well, sometimes things don't work out, like Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. not sure how many of you might be familiar with this, but this was a 2-night hotel stay. It was an all immersive adventure where you could come live your very own epic Star Wars story. And how this came to be was in 2017, Disney surveyed their visitors to gauge interest to see if this might be something that they would be wanting to come and participate in. There was lots of interest, so plans were announced that year at D23 to build it. There was a pandemic delay, but after that, they opened in March of 2022. However, it closed in September of 2023. And the cost was several $billions. Now, what it had going for it was a huge IP, it had grand ambition, and it had fans of all ages. But where it failed is that it was too expensive, there wasn't enough to do, and the story didn't make sense. And if you want to learn more about that, there is a 4-hour documentary on YouTube by an influencer named Jenny Nicholson, who chronicles all of that. So how are we going to continue to make engaging content for audiences so that we can continue this active participation when we're all using different toolkits? Well, to me, it's about bringing it all together, because animation superpower is storytelling, characters, world building. Game superpower is cutting edge innovation and technology. And immersive location-based entertainment industry, their superpower is bringing everything together. And so this whole new kind of content is being born. I feel like there's a real opportunity, and I think it's a very exciting time. So I'm sure you're all wondering, how does my company break into this space? So I put together some answers to some questions. How would you break into these industries when your focus has traditionally been in games? So I fell into this industry in a very weird way. I was hired to, this was a long time ago, I was hired to coach the executive producer for Universal Studios Singapore on how to pitch the theme park to Jeffrey Katzenberg in 15 minutes. And this executive producer, he kind of talked all over the place. So I got him organized because I picked up everything and sort of understood how to organize it and present the information in a clear and thoughtful way. And he had a great meeting. He called me the next day and said, I could use someone like you on my team. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'd never worked in this space before. And he said, well, you obviously understand media. You understand IP. You pick things up quickly, and I'll teach you everything else, which is what he did. So you can break in too. So it's really about education, going and learning more about this industry. It's about networking. It's about meeting people and building those relationships. It's going to take some time, but you need to invest. And then you can get there and expand where you're doing your business. So again, you might be wondering, how, as a provider, service provider, can you contribute to these immersive experiences? So there's assets that need to be created. There's animation, and tech. So again, from my theme park experience, I had to hire a company. They're called Super 78. They were able to take assets from DreamWorks, but they had to rig those assets in order to create the figurines that went in the food, beverage, and retail outlet, as well as the figurines that went on my carousel. So that was really important. Animation, we hired them to do custom animation for our Madagascar boat ride that was woven throughout the experience. And then we also had an attraction called Donkey Talk. So this is where animation and tech comes together. So Donkey from Shrek would talk to the audience in real time. So that's really fun. And there's more of those that are coming. And I think with all of your experience in real-time engines, I think that will be particularly useful. So what's the size of the market in this space? So there's so many different areas where you can press into, way beyond what I've just shared today. So brand hubs, flagships, marketing opportunities, creative spaces like I presented, cruise ships, cultural attractions, museums, immersive games and escape rooms, retail, dining, innovation vision centers, musical experiences, I should say sports, not spots, pardon me, theme parks, amusement parks, and world expos and global events. There's a lot going on, lots of opportunity. And also there's going to be, in my opinion, and what I have spoken about with other colleagues in this space, is that closer to home or that day experience will be coming to malls. In fact, Netflix is developing attractions in malls right now in Denver, and I believe somewhere in Minnesota. Because movie theaters are closing down, and because malls Our people are shopping online, so there's a lot of space available for experiences like this. There's even one last thing to tell you about. I read about that one of the founders from Meow Wolf has broken off to blend attractions and alongside wellness. So they are opening an immersive spa called Submersive in Austin. This is opening in 2026. It's going to be 25,000 square foot wellness facility with immersive art, video projections, lasers, and AI technology. Again, moving into all kinds of spaces. So finally, might you be thinking about delivering your own IP experiences or partnering with others to do so? So it's risky to do that. Branded IP is what is most desired. So if you have a big brand, that might be something to explore. But some of the other challenges are that the tech standards are changing rapidly, so the content could be in a dated format faster than you would anticipate. So my friends at Super 78, they built a library of ride films where like Soarin' over California, those kinds of films. They have one for Seattle, they have some for China, one for New York. But the tech standards do change, so it makes it difficult. The other challenge is that there's not a lot of venues yet where that content could be licensed. But again, we're in this new pioneering state, and there's always going to be some risk, but there could be some great reward. So the thing is to get intentional, be flexible, stay strategic, focus on breaking into this industry, and then determine what the needs and the opportunities could be. Some other really quick resources for you in this space of location-based entertainment. So IAPA, which is actually going on right now, is the organization that puts on an expo 2 or 3 times a year. They have one in the United States, it's happening in Orlando right now. They have one in Asia. They may also have one in Europe as well. There's also the Themed Entertainment Association, which is a professional organization that encompasses all of these different areas. If you're members of BAFTA, they also have an immersive branch, as does the TV Academy and the VES. This is not an experiences Substack that I like to check out. It tells me about all kinds of interesting new attractions and experiences. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we all want that same thing. We want to tell amazing stories with unique characters in unique worlds. So let's do it together. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Sharing now.
Thank you so much, Jill. I can hear the virtual round of applause from everyone. Thank you for delivering that for us today. We don't have a lot of time left. We do have a few questions in the queue. I want to try to get to in no particular order. So Martin asks a great question, which is, how much do you see motion capture being utilized for animation in these immersive experiences?
Oh, I think a lot. I think because that is it is a lower cost way to get the animation done. And I think that so I think it's lower cost way. I also think because motion capture is very realistic, and in many of these experiences, it's not going to all be stylized. They want more realistic looking humans. That motion capture can be very helpful there.
Cool. Thank you for that. So I'm going to ask 2 questions, which I think are maybe related. So an anonymous question, which was, what are games companies missing the boat on when it comes to immersive content? And then the related question is, are there examples of video game franchises going into immersive experiences?
So I have heard of some immersive of games going into that space. I'm not allowed to speak about what those companies are. But I do think that as game companies are thinking and realizing that they have a strong brand, a strong IP, they want to get that out in the world. And so they will probably go more slowly. There's probably a little bit more of a like the metaverse thinking, so there's more virtual. But I do think that if you want continued engagement in real time, in real physical spaces, which I do believe audiences want, you have to move into those places. But I mean, look at Nintendo World. That is a huge part of Universal's plan. People love that. That's like the biggest hit of the last few years in this space.
No, that's a great example. I know our family loved it. I mean, there's a follow-up question on this one as well, which is, do you feel to an extent it's more difficult for games to make the transition to the immersive space?
That's a good question. I I think if it in many ways it parallels much better than a movie because they are both experiences where the audience gets to control the narrative. I mean, you don't have as wide of breadth as what you would in a digital world, but I think I don't think it can be a problem. I think it's about creating an emotional engagement with your audience. And if you can do that, if you have a brand as a game where people love the characters and they love the world and they want to spend time there, I think people will go spend their money in that space. More interested in spending their money there than spending their money on a movie where it's very expensive and you just sit and watch a rehashed, probably Marvel movie that you've already seen many times or that you could watch at home.
Absolutely. I think we're getting towards the end here, Jill. Another question here, actually, this one's from Caroline Calloway. What do you think immersive or LBE creative spaces will be like or look like in 10 years from now? So if you look in your crystal ball.
It's a really good question. Well, I feel like we're going to still have the sort of the big ticket trips that you go and you spend a lot of money on in a big immersive experience, or like a theme park. But I also feel like they're going to when we go to the movie, instead of going to the movies, there will be more localized experiences that you get to experience. So it's more like that's your date night on Saturday night. I also think that there's going to be more of an experience as you go into dining, as you go into retail, to make it feel like it's an experience. And so there is, and so the trick will be, how do you keep those experiences fresh and make sure that you can continue to engage your audience and have them return? And to me, one of the best ways to do that is with digital content or digital pieces of the experiences, because you can always swap out that digital media, as opposed to if I'm building physical things, I have to tear all that out and rebuild it, redesign it. Whereas if I have screens, there's I can switch things around much more easily.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great question just popped in from Gregory. Generally speaking, are these experiences the product or marketing for another product?
It's a really good question. It's both. It's both. It depends on what are the goals of the parent company. So if the parent company is like, let's say the Johnny Walker experience, that is a marketing effort because they really want you to buy their product. If the goal is more like, let's say it's a hotel that owns various experiences, it is about bringing you to the hotel, having you spend your money there, and having the experience be a part of that. So it's a really good question. And one of the things that my CEO from Kaleido said, that when thinking about partners, they really have to understand what is their core business and how does that experience that she has created, how does Particle Inc. fit in with that? Does it support it, or is it just a marketing effort?
Thanks for that, Jill. The questions keep rolling in. Let's see what we can squeeze in the last 2 minutes. So Dave asks a bit more of a tactical question, which is, how much of a role is Unreal playing in the type of experiences you're discussing? Or do you even know?
That's a good question too. I don't know, but I know that there is, from conversations that I've been having with people, there is a desire for that. So I have actually had lunch with someone this week who works for a location-based entertainment company that was asking, are there companies out there that have the ability to, what is their experience like with Unreal, with engines, game engines? Because also they want that realistic look. They want, there is a desire for that. And I don't know how many companies, at least in my animation space, there's not that many companies that have full experience for a full pipeline. I produced a short that was in Unreal, and we had to bring in animators to work on the facial expressions and animation because we couldn't get the emotion that we wanted. So continuing to perfect that to create that emotion, because if you can create emotional characters, it's a better chance of engagement.
Okay, awesome. We are at the top of the hour, Jill, so unfortunately we have to let you go, although there are some more questions coming in. You guys could certainly get in touch with Jill through LinkedIn, I assume, if anyone has questions, or hey, maybe you're looking for some consulting support.
That's right.
Just a little plug
Anything,
there.
yes, feel free to go to the Sunny Side Up, our website, and you can reach me that way too.
Perfect. Thank you, Jill, on behalf of everyone today, and good luck, and we look forward to seeing you at the next immersive experience.
Thank you so much, Chris. This has been a delight. Thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday weekend.